Hello property lovers, welcome to Property Focus, your window into the world of architecture, building construction and real estate. Now one Gideon asked Property Focus, I've got a container and I'm trying to make a home out of it. Do you have any ideas? Well Gideon, we found it worth it to come all the way to Kibiko to show you one of two properties or container shipping homes, and this is our first one, and we're going to see another one in the city. But first, property lovers, get comfortable, get yourself a cup of tea, coffee, relax, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Peter Ngigi. Now off to the city with our first container home. Now we're here at the city and we're here with a container expert to just tell us a little bit more about our very first container project. Welcome to Property Focus, Irfan.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Tell us about yourself.
My name is Irfan Wayani.
Yes.
I'm an expert in container conversion. Born in Nairobi. Lived most of my life in Mombasa at the coast. Did my high school there.
Yes.
Got my bachelor's degree in India.
Oh, nice.
And have been running transport business for past 16 to 17 years. So I have very good expertise in logistics around Africa.
Okay.
And then I decided to branch out to construction. And today I'm building containers. I used to transport containers.
Yes.
Now I'm using containers to build.
Tell us about this particular container home.
This container house is kind of special to me. For me, I used to look at people on the ground, the people who cannot afford houses worth 2 million, 3 million. So we came up with this idea of having a small bed-sitter unit, like a studio, and where people could afford it. And what we also did is we killed the look of the container with, we used the wooden cladding to kill the look, and which is giving it more natural look, feel. Because even when people come to me to ask me, is this really a container? I'm like, yes, it is a container. They're like, no, we can't believe it. I'm like, come, I'll take you, show you. Yeah. These are containers.
Wonderful. So
this is kind of very special. People who are at the bottom can own this container for minimum of $7,500, which is, I would say, 800,000 Kenya shilling, and you have your home.
what was the design process like?
The design process, first we came up with the idea how we wanted and what we really want to build.
Yes.
So we came together, me and my partners,
Yes.
With our architect. We went through the designs for like a week and put our mind in it, and then the architect designed what we wanted, and in the end we have this beautiful structure. So what we did after the design, what you do is you need to source for the container, and mostly containers come from Mombasa, and in Kenya people are using second-hand containers and not brand new containers. So it's quite challenging to get a really good container. First of all, you need to also see that you need to check the log of the container, what it carried. You don't need a container that had carried chemicals and bitumen and all this. It's not good for a person who is buying. It's not good for your health also, because the paint that was there, everything has these chemicals in them. So what we do is, after we check the log, we purchase the container, bring it to Nairobi, and then we strip the container totally. We get the paint out, everything out, even the flooring. And we have equipment that we use to scrap the paint off totally until it's metal. You see the metal itself. And then from there, we cut the container, we cut the doors, we cut the windows, and do the flooring again.
Yeah.
After that, we strengthen the container.
Yes.
You need to, after you cut the container, you really need to reinforce it again for windows, for doors, and all that.
Yes.
And after doing that, we do the insulation, which is very important,
Yes.
especially in hot areas. Containers tend to take a lot of heat.
Yes.
And what we do is we insulate with air conditioning, yes, or gypsum panels, and polyurethane panels.
And in terms of how long it takes to build, how long would it take to complete a structure such as this?
Procuring container is, at the moment, because there is a global shortage of containers, it can take a week to two to get the containers to Nairobi. It's quite challenging for us, our industry right now. COVID has really kind of affected us.
To build the container.
Yeah, and then to build the container will take a simple container like this, which will maximum take 3 weeks. So with logistics and construction, you're looking at approximately 5 weeks and you have your home at site. For this container, you're looking at around 2 million shillings with fully cladded, with laminated wooden flooring, and we didn't put tiles. I don't believe in putting tiles in a container because after some time, a year or so, the tile starts popping out because the containers are wobbly. And yeah, people will come and be like, hey, I want tiles. I wouldn't advise tiles.
Well, give us your parting shots or any advice you'd like to give anybody who wants to own a container home.
Mimi ningependa kusema mwanzo mkinunua container, ngalieni log ya container, mjue container imetembea miaka mingapi, imefanya trip ngapi baharini, na mngalie kama ilibeba mzigo gani. It's very important. And Peter, why I'm talking in Kiswahili is because I want all the Kenyans to hear, because not everyone understands English. Yes. And it's container is the way to go. Yes. Unaweza nunua nyumba ya container leo, hata kama huna property, huna kiwanja, unaweza chukua kiwanja kwa lease na uwekele nyumba yako pale. Unaweza ekelea duka yako pale. Yes. Ama chochote ile unataka kufanya. Yes. Kesho mwenye ile property akitaka kukutoa, unabeba container yako unaendelea kwingine. Yes. Na kazi haisimami, tunaendelea mbele. Sasa mimi hata, and many people come and ask me also, yes, Irfan, if you want to build a container home, what would you suggest to your client? I'll be like, first, look for a high cube container. Yes. High cube container gives you a foot height, yes, from the normal container. There are two types of containers. You have the low cube, you have the normal height, yes, and the high cube. Yes. In Kenya, 20 foot, you only get normal and low cube. Yes. You don't get high cube. Yes. So if you're building anything from container, go for a 40-foot container. Yes. Because you only get high cube, use that. Well,
thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Asante sana.
Now that was our first container home. Simply amazing, with views to just relax, and an upstairs section, kitchenette downstairs, simply amazing. Now we're going on to a second property up in upcountry to see another design that you could style your container home. Stay tuned, we've got more after the break. You know, it really amazes me how these shipping containers are converted into warm and cozy homes, and we're with one architect who's going to tell us a little bit more about that. Welcome to Property Focus, Esperanza.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about yourself.
My name is Esparanza Mbithe. I'm the lead architect at Containers 254, which has been in this container fabrication business since 2015.
Tell us about this particular container.
Well, this is one of my favorite container projects because I love how it's basically like a large studio house. Mm-hmm. It's very open. It's so, considering the color and the design we had for it, it's very open. It makes you just feel like one with everything, one with the different spaces, one with the nature outside. It's just beautiful. From the color to the finishes, everything about it is just nice, I would say.
What was the process like designing this particular container home?
For this particular container, actually, the client herself brought in the design from the internet. Now, our job as fabricators is to make your dream come true. And basically what we did was we took the design from what she had on the internet and made it into more functional space to fit her need, her brief. So we made the dimensions, we created the colors and the finishes and whatnot. Mm-hmm. All that to fit into her idea of what exactly she wanted to feel, mm-hmm, when she walks inside the house.
What intrigues you about containers?
One of my favorite things is the fact that they are modular. When I say modular, it's in the sense of where, as a designer, it's very easy for me to get creative with them. And it's just fun to play with the designs and give something out of the ordinary. It's easier. And considering even as much as I play with it, it's still cheaper, mm-hmm, than traditional homes, mm-hmm, because a container itself is a structure, yes, as it is. So it stands firm and it's just, yeah, it gives the owner something different to look at every single time. another point on adding to why this is one of my favorite is because it's an off-grid project. It has its own, for water system, we have the tanks installed above, a water tower installed above the container. For electricity, we use solar, considering the sun. You make use of the free sun. We have the solar power. You would say as it has everything on its own, it's fully sufficient.
So what unique experience did you want your client to have with this container home?
Well, with this one, I would say I wanted her to have that kind of freedom that comes with the space. It's very open, so you feel one with everything. One, the kitchen, it's very interactive. The entire space is very interactive. There are no walls to obstruct from anything. For the outside, the surrounding area itself is also another advantage, because when you just walk out of something of inside, when you just walk out, you just feel one with everything. So it doesn't take a lot from...
How much does it actually cost?
To have this particular design, it starts from about 1.3 million. Yes, depending on the client's brief. Like, what would you want, the finishes, the final touches, and the colors. The traditional brick and mortar house costs more. Because if you're looking at the approximate cost, you would say a stone house takes about 35 square meters, 35,000 per square meter. That's the cost. But when you're looking at the container home, it will take less, about 24,000 per square meter.
So that's about, give or take, 11,000 shillings.
Yeah.
For 30 square meters.
Yeah. It's in the difference, you would say it's in the foundation. Yeah, because we recommend pillars for the container homes rather than the slab or raft foundation for the traditional brick and mortar homes.
Well then, why a red container?
Why a red container? First, the red looks beautiful, stunning with the contrast in white, doesn't it? The environment itself just calls for a beam of color, a fun color that just calls out. And this particular one attracts me because this is like a female den. It just has a feminine touch to it, which I do appreciate. And also adding to that, we already have a man cave, and it's grey. So a female den, and it's
Red in color.
Red and white, exactly.
How do you regulate the temperature?
During fabrication, we install insulation products into it. So it regulates the temperatures. That is, we add the insulation, the styrofoam, or we have the provision of an AC depending on the client's budget. Yeah, so that maintains the temperatures within. It's not too hot and it's not too cold, so it's just the right temperature for you. Yeah.
Any advice you'd like to give the market?
Yeah, one, don't be afraid to dream of something different. Don't be afraid to want to experience something different. Container home living is the new way to go. It's like basically the future, if I could say. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. There you have it. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure you're also more informed. For 30 square meters, that's 330,000 shillings less when you're doing it with a container home. I didn't know that. Absolutely amazing. Only on Property Focus. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, from Israel, we've got one Omri Cohen, who started out as a commercial model, runway model, and right now is tearing up the scene in the shipping homes container business. Welcome to Property Focus, Omri.
Thank you, Peter. Happy to have you here at ISM Africa.
Good, good. Tell us about yourself.
So, my name is Omri Cohen. I've been here for almost 13 years. My wife grew up here. Been managing a few businesses and running a few of them. And lately, for the past few years, ISM Africa, which is the mother company of ISM Containers.
Does one need planning permission when starting out a container homes business?
Actually, it's considered to be a temporary structure. But I would suggest to really check on the county level and the specific location that these containers are supposed to be assembled. So generally, it's much easier than conventional construction.
And where do you see this trend in the foreseeable future?
We are, I think for the last 10 years I've been in this business, I've never witnessed such a growing trend as the last few years. I think people understand that the light construction in general is just the way to go. It's much faster, less riskier, and in most cases even cheaper.
How do you insulate a container?
Well, not at all. We have few ways to insulate a container. We have PUF panels, which is one option, and the other option that we have is gypsum, which comes with the insulation material. Most of our containers in the most remote and hot places or very cold places are actually equipped with an AC. So that's another thing that will manage the temperature properly.
What is a PUF panel? You know, right? Some of us don't know.
PUF is a special panel. Most people know it maybe from the reefer containers. Yes. So it's a made panel which has the insulation material already inside. So it's a panel that comes already with all the required. It's like a sandwich that already comes with all the materials inside.
It's an easy way to put it.
Easy way to put it.
Now, apart from homes and commercial use, are there other uses for containers?
Oh, there's so many. There's residentials that we're working on. There's, of course, kitchens and clinics and hospitals that we've been working on. Security solutions like security houses for guards, laundromats, kitchens, bars, restaurants, Airbnbs. There's so many requirements that we see coming towards us, and it's just fascinating how people would love to turn everything into containers because it's also renewable material. So these are containers that went out of the shipping cycle.
Speaking of security, are they safe?
Very safe, because our materials are all fire graded. So we have the material is one, then we have in our containers the fire smoke detectors, we have fire extinguishers, and in most cases we also have another door, which is an exit door, to have another exit from the container.
What need did you identify to start out this business?
I started working on this business about 10 years ago with the UN and with the Lake Turkana wind farm through another company I worked for, which was a huge project for us. And we actually grew the business and to the extent where we started developing new methodologies. I think it's one of the most fascinating businesses to be in because of the magnificent things that you can do with it. And the amazing designs that you can put inside a box, as you call it on your show. And I just think that, inventing every time what can be done in such a space is a fascinating thing. But having said that, you need to know who you work with, because you need to work with people that you can really trust.
What would be the standard cost for a 20 or 40-foot container?
Very difficult question, and one that I don't intend to really answer because it really changes depending on the design. So we have our interior designers, and everything is at the end of the day, everything is the design that you're using, the furniture, the materials that you're using, and the final, the final product that comes out. As I said before, it's something that would be more cost efficient than traditional construction, especially when you look at remote places and fast light construction. You can't compare.
Now, for anybody who wants to open up a container home or start out with a container home, what would you advise that person?
I would suggest in general, go with people who you can trust. I think that trust means that they have a proper yard, it's properly equipped, they have the people, they have the knowledge, they have the office that they can show you, they have demo containers, they have everything to show what they can do. Don't just go with any person that says that he has a company, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work well at the end of the day. You need to really work, with a professional. Yeah.
Now, Omri, quickfire section.
Yes.
Between Manchester and Arsenal, who do you prefer?
Manchester United.
Beach or the city?
Definitely beach.
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette. My wife is brunette. I have to give the right answer.
Wise answer, wise answer. Safe, my friend. Thank you very much for coming onto the show.
Thank you, man.
And there you have it from Omri Cohen, a shipping container homes expert, and you only had it on Property Focus. Stay tuned. Well, unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. It's been an absolute delight and quite informative, actually. So, would you actually construct a container home? It's up to you. Reach out to us on our socials, and we'll be more than happy to have these topics on the show. Now, if you want to reach out to us on Facebook, that's Property Focus, and on Instagram, property_focus_, and we'll be happy to get back. Now I'm going to jump into this red house and just sort of chill out and unwind. Have a lovely evening. I've been your host, Peter Ngigi.